there, moguls. It's me, Marshall Silver, your personal millionaire maker. Getting very excited about my brand new show. 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. I'm going to broadcast live to you. In the first hour of the broadcast, I'm going to give you content, information for better sex, more money, emotional, mental, physical, and even spiritual power. I'll also invite some of my cool multi-millionaire and billionaire friends onto the show to give you more direction, more advice, more strategies and gambits for having it all. The second hour is what I'm most excited about. It's when I get a chance to chat with you. Yes, you. Where you can call in, talk to me, ask me questions. And if you say the secret word of the day, you could win $5,000 cash. At the very least, if you're the most interesting call of the day, you could also win 10 ounces of freshly minted Marshall Silver 999 Fine Silver. All of that and more. Brand new Mercedes-Benz sedan or SUV up for grabs. My personal Rolls-Royce Phantom up for grabs. All the knowledge to get everything you want and so much more. All you got to do is log in to the show to get information about its release coming up. 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, coming to you live from the bunker right here at Studio Money. I'm Marshall Silver, your personal millionaire maker.
Let me bring in our hypnotist, Marshall Silver.
It's Marshall Silver, ladies and gentlemen, the world's fastest hypnotist.
Welcome home. Do you ever wake up and just say, thank you, thank you, thank you, God. I have the most amazing life. I have the most amazing family, perfect children, absolutely amazing wife, phenomenal team working really hard to make me look and sound as good as they possibly can. I am a very, very grateful man. We were talking right before the broadcast went live about a movie. And I don't know if you've seen this movie. You got to check it out. The movie is called Man from Earth. And it's a unique film in that it was filmed basically in one room in a cabin. And some really cool actors. You'll recognize the actors. Many of them are fairly well-known character actors. You might not know them by name, but you'll certainly say, oh, yeah, I've seen that person before. The movie's amazing. It's unlike anything I have ever seen before. And it just kind of drives home the concept that you never really know who somebody is, and you never really know what somebody else might be going through, and you never really know who they might know. And because of all of the above, be kind. I think it's really important to figure out how to be kind. There are people I don't like, I don't care for. And I also realize no matter how much I'm not happy with them or don't care for them or don't even like them, they're doing the best they can. Even despicable people are doing the best they can. They're doing despicable things because they're despicable. And again, you don't know what they went through. You don't know how they got there. You don't know anything about them. And so it's not, do your best not to judge. Do your best to give people the benefit of the doubt. Do your best to have grace. This show is definitely all about grace. You know, people ask me, why do you do this broadcast? What's your point, Marshall? Now, we're going to get back to taking your calls again. I promise you. We're going to get back to giving away cash and giving away silver like we have on already given away 600 ounces of pure Marshall Silver. We're going to get back to that. For now, though, what's the reason I'm doing it the way that I'm doing it? My knees are healing, other stuff going on. At any rate, I'm doing this for you. For about an hour a day, I want your life to be better. For an hour a day, I want you to tune in, hear something that might inspire you, listen to guests that might really give you motivation and focus, make you think. Sometimes the guests are going to probably set you off. Sometimes the guests are going to offend you. They may drop an F-bomb or two. I don't care. You know, I'm not a prude by any means. I don't drop them usually only because it's not effective. But they may, and I'm not going to be offended by it. And if you're offended by it, then keep listening to the show because the whole point of the show is to get over it already. It's interesting to me. You know, sometimes I think people sell each other short I've been in this business of broadcast since I was 17 years old. I've been on stage since I was 7. All the best things in my life happen in sevens. I met my wife in 2007. I married her in 2014 at 9:07 in the morning on January 27th, because good things happen around 7th. I'm the 7th child of 11 kids. I had I one of my I have 11 I have 10 siblings, 11 kids that my mother birthed. And I have, gosh, I don't even know, 36 nephews and nieces. Years ago, I was sitting with one of my nephews, and he said, we were talking about music, and he said something about Kenny Loggins. I've always been a huge fan of Kenny Loggins. And I mentioned in passing, yeah, I was having dinner with Kenny Loggins. And he said, "You don't know Kenny Loggins." I said, "Yes, I do." He said, "No, you don't." I said, "I do." And I said, "I tell you what, he's performing tonight in concert, and I've got some front row seats. Come join me." "Oh, yeah, sure you do." So we go down, and the concert starts. And about halfway through the second song, Kenny looks down, notices I'm there, and he goes, "Oh my God, ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to you a very good friend of mine, Marshall Silver." And I stand up and I wave and I take a bow. And my nephew was obviously impressed, and rightfully so. And so time goes by. Back in 2016, the election's going on, and we're at a rally for Trump. And we're at the rally. He's conservative, like I'm a conservative, and we're at the rally. And I said, "Yeah, I know Trump personally." He said, "No, you don't." I said, "I do. I've shared the stage with him on probably 30 occasions over the course of the years. I've been back in the green room, the waiting area before you go on stage, repeatedly, just with he and I just chatting. That's why I like him. He's a good guy. And while I may not agree with everything he says, there's nobody that I do. So I like him. He's a good guy." He says, "You don't know Donald Trump." I said, "I do." And so we're at this rally, and I work my way. I said, "Come with me." And so we work our way through the crowd. We get up near the front. Trump sees me, and he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say hello to a friend and a supporter, a true American, Marshall Silver." And he gives me kudos right there. And my friend says, "Oh my God, I can't believe it. You knew Kenny Loggins, you know Donald Trump." So we're vacationing, and we're over in Italy, and we go to the Vatican, and we're there. And I don't know if you've ever seen the Pope in person. It's kind of crazy. I mean, there's just wall to wall people inside the Vatican City. And we're standing there, and I'm with my nephew, and I hadn't said anything to him because I figured he wouldn't believe me anyway. But I said, "You know what? I know the Pope. The Pope and I were close. We're friends." He said, "No, you're not." I said, "We are." He said, "No, you're not." And I said, "Yeah, I'll do my best. Let me get up near the front and see if I can get him to say something about me, or signal that he knows me, so that you know." He says, "Fine." So I leave and I work my way through the crowd, and it was hard, took a long time. I get up there to the front of the stage, and the Pope sees me, and John Paul motions for me to come up onto the stage. And I get up on stage and I give him a big hug, and everybody roars, and he waves at the audience. He gives me another hug. And I go back to the audience and I work my way through the crowd. I can't find my nephew anyway. And then I see this weird circle of people. And I go to the circle, and my nephew is on the ground, passed out. He's passed out cold. And I went over to him and I slapped him on the shoulder. "Jake, wake up." And he says, wakes up and goes, "Oh my God." I said, "Are you okay?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm fine." He said, "It was just a shock to my nervous system." I said, "Yeah, it's pretty shocking that I know the Pope." He said, "No, that's not what shocked me." I said, "What happened?" He said, "I'm standing there. I watch you work your way through the crowd. I see you get on stage, and my jaw drops. And then all of a sudden, this guy beside me taps me on the shoulder and says, 'Do you know who that guy is in the funny hat standing beside Marshall Silver?' Then I fainted. Welcome to my world, baby." Hey, life is good, and it's short, and it's time to laugh, but it's also time to appreciate life. Today's guest has a death experience, not even a near death experience, a death experience. Uh, Jason Nemes is a visionary in the realm of leadership and team development. Jason has carved out a reputation for his unique ability to identify and cultivate potential in individuals and groups, transforming average teams into high performing units. His methods not only boost productivity, they also foster an environment of mutual respect and continuous improvement. In this episode, Jason will share his journey from a budding leader to a sought after consultant in leadership development. He'll dive into the principles that underpin his approach, including his brief Believe in transparent communication, strategic thinking, and the power of positive reinforcement. Listeners today are going to gain an insight into Jason's techniques for motivating teams, managing conflicts, and building a culture that values proactive challenge solving and innovation. With a nice big Marshall Silver welcome, please welcome Jason Nemes. Jason, welcome to the show.
How's it going, man? Thank you for having me.
My life is always blessed. Very glad you're here. Where are you calling in from?
Dallas, Texas.
I tell everybody calling in from Texas that during the lockdown and all the insanity and the scamdemic, Texas was definitely one of the states we took a hard look at. I looked at a bunch of homes there. One in Flower Hill. I don't know if you know Flower
Flower
Mound.
Mound.
Flower Mound.
So
Yes.
I'm technically in Plano. A lot of
Ah,
people don't know, so I say Dallas. But if you're familiar with Flower Mound, it's a good possibility you know Plano.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
There was this big 10-acre estate. The house was 23,000 square feet. It was right on the lake, and it was amazing. The only reason we didn't move was bugs.
We definitely have those. Yeah, we
Yes,
definitely
and I
have.
don't like bugs. I
I'm
live
not a
in
fan.
I live in Vegas where all the bugs die of radiation.
Yeah.
Hey man, welcome
Man,
to the show.
I was in the waiting room. I was like feeling like I needed to be in Vegas at a show. Do you do that on
Yay.
purpose with the music?
Oh yeah, baby.
Yeah. I was like,
Yeah,
I need to come see
my
a
whole
show.
philosophy is you can't teach people unless you can get their attention. And I think the best way to get people's attention is through humor. I think the best way to get people's attention is through entertainment. And then once you have their attention, then you can teach them. But I don't even think that's enough. I think the final thing is your transformation that we want to get to right away. And
Yes,
that
sir.
is you've got to empower them to take new actions, to make a change and do something different. So tell us about your background. Tell us about your big turnarounds. I know you had a massive one.
I did. Yeah, so I'm born and raised in Plano, actually, but I've lived all over. I recently moved back 7 months ago. I'm not one of those who just stayed here. I've been in Florida, California, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Tennessee. I mean, I've been all over the country. And I mean, I had a great childhood. Parents, they would split up when I was younger, but they co-parented very well. And I thank them all the time still to this day for that because it only serves the child, right? Went to University of North Texas when I was 23. So I was trying to figure life out and went back at 23, graduated at 27 with a business degree in economics. And then from there, I went into the corporate world. I found that the corporate world was not for me. Now, a lot of people, friends, family are in the corporate world and they do great and they love it. And at the end of the day, as long as you wake up loving what you do, you have peace of mind. That's really what matters, right? It just wasn't for me. And I got introduced to an opportunity within the entrepreneurial space and I took it full force. That was at 27. I had a trash bag of clothes and lived in my buddy's living room when I got started. And after 3 years, had a 7-figure business and kept scaling.
What was your business? What was the business?
It's in the health and fitness industry and in the network marketing space.
Awesome.
So yes, sir. So it's actually one of the, if not the hardest industry to really break through and build a significant team and have a lot of success. And I might be biased to that, but in talking with lots of
A lot
people,
of competition.
yeah, it's a lot of competition. And so, I dabbled with drugs a little bit. And then I hit a point in my life where it got a lot more severe than I ever realized. Can't
What
see the
was your drug
picture.
of choice?
Cocaine.
Got it.
So cocaine mixed with steroids. And I had a pretty decent physique the whole time, but I would party all night. And there were times where I wouldn't sleep I might take a couple, little naps throughout the day, but no good sleep for a week sometimes. It got pretty bad. And just kind of reminiscing on so it led me to discovering something one day. So I didn't discover it the initial day. So what happened was I had just got done speaking at a leadership conference in Colorado. And then I went to the airport. And as I was walking to the gate, I felt a sharp pain in my chest. And I didn't know what it was. I was 34 at the time. So I'm not thinking heart attack, right? And I had to put my bags down, stop, like, what on earth is going on? And then it just went away. And I'm just like, okay, that was weird. So get on my plane, go about my business. I'm living in Nashville at the time. And then I decide, like a couple weeks later, that I want to get more into cardio shape. So I joined Orange Theory, and I start, so I get on the treadmill at Orange Theory. That's part of their little program, is some cardio. And so as I start running on the treadmill, I notice something isn't right on my heart side, getting some pains. It's like you just know something is off. And so, okay. So then, long story short on that, I decided to go get checked. And man, intuition is so powerful. And the reason I say that is because the cardiologist at Vanderbilt, we did an EKG, which is at rest, and the ultrasound. And both of those results were perfect. And so the cardiologist said to me, he's like, Jason, you are in phenomenal shape, and both of these tests came back perfect. Man, I don't think you need a stress test. I really don't think you need it. And for me, it's just like, Doc, that's great and all, but this is the last thing that I'm missing. And the only time that I have issues or I feel like there's something up is when my heart is under stress. So it only makes sense to do a stress test. So he went ahead and granted it. I did the stress test. And man, if you've never done a stress test, they really work your ass. So I mean, like, they work your ass out on that treadmill. And so when they get done, they lay you down, let you calm down. I had never done a stress test. But when I got done, they immediately take me, lay me down, and they're asking me if I'm okay. Like, are you okay? Are you dizzy? So I'm like, yeah.
What was your heart rate at?
I don't even remember, to be honest with you. I don't remember. But I will tell you that they get your heart rate to a certain point and then they stop. Mm-hmm. Right? So they got it to where it needed to be. But what they saw and why they were kind of freaking out / worried is because they're trained to read what it's showing them on the test, and they know what's normal and they know what's not normal. So my readings were not normal. So they lay me down, and then they're asking if everything is okay. And the other nurse is outside screaming for a doctor to come in the room. So at that point, I'm like, what is going on? And she's like, calm down. I'm like, well, that's causing me not to be very calm. Like,
yeah, I was fine before you started screaming.
Exactly. So doctor comes in, he explains very briefly that my heart wasn't getting enough blood flow to it at a high heart rate, which is why I was good at rest, but then I would experience things that weren't normal when my heart rate would be elevated. Yep. So we scheduled to go in the cath lab, shoot the dye, and do that whole test. And we discovered that I had 100% blockage at my widowmaker, but my heart grew from the good side. My heart grew from the part that was still had the blood flow. It rerouted blood under and came up and attached to it to get blood flow over there.
Wow.
And so I had enough at rest, right? My body created that for me. But I didn't have enough when I was under stress. And so we went ahead and scheduled to put a stent in. So they try to put a stent in that day, but when you have 99% or 100% blockage, they have to have a specialist come in. The guys that work in there on a daily basis, they can't really do it. They tried for like 2 hours and they weren't successful. I was actually scheduled for open heart surgery, and one of my dad's best friends works at Baylor in Dallas, and they have a phenomenal cardiology team. And so he talked me into going and getting another opinion. He's like, you can only crack your chest open so many times until you can't really do it anymore. So you want to save that as much as possible. And sure enough, they said they was 80% chance that they could do it. Their number one guy, and they were successful.
So but did you put a stent in?
They did. They put a stent in. Now that was April 3rd, 2020. So fast forward a year and a day, which my number is 11. So a year and a day, 11. I have 11 right here. But this gets interesting. So a year and a day later, on April 4th, which was Easter, it was Easter Sunday, I go and a buddy of mine hit me up to come work out. We hit legs, play basketball afterwards. And after playing basketball, as I'm leaving the gym, I'm like, man, something is not right. I'm getting pains in my chest. My arm is going numb. I'm getting a really bad headache and I'm short of breath. Now, when I was playing basketball, I was like 240 pounds. I was kind of bulking to cut for the summer. So I wasn't thinking that I was out of breath because of anything, but I'm just out of shape right now. That's it.
Yeah.
But as I was leaving the gym, getting into my car, things were not right. Stopped at the gas station to get some Advil because the headache was excruciating, and kept driving a little bit longer home. And I looked at the person that was with me. I said, something is not right. I want to go to an ER clinic or an urgent care. And so I went, thankfully. And I love how things work out. You know, God does not make accident. There's no accidents with God. And because it was Easter, there was no traffic. And in Austin is where I was. There's normally a ton of traffic. I got to the clinic in 5 minutes. Mind you, I found this out about 7 or 8 months ago. This is a great information for listeners out there. Unfortunately, heart attacks, I won't want to say they're common, but they're kind of common. It's, I think, the #1 killer. If you are having a heart attack and you go to a regular urgent care, they cannot help you. It has to be either the emergency room at the hospital or an ER urgent care. And the one that I happened to click to go to was an ER urgent care, and that was not on purpose, but I guess it was on purpose. I just didn't know. And so I got there. They're like, sir, how can we help you? I said, man, I'm pretty sure I'm having a heart attack. And he asked me for my ID. I actually had to run back out to my car because I left my wallet in the car. Meanwhile, I'm having a severe heart attack. So I come back, give him my ID.
They're saying, could we get your credit card, please?
Yeah, I usually make jokes about it. Like, did you hear what I just told? Like, I'm having a heart attack. Get me to the back and we can.
If your credit card doesn't clear, they don't care.
Oh, absolutely. They'll let you die. So yeah, I give them my ID. They rush me to the back. They hook me up to the EKG. Doctor sees the EKG. I'll never forget the look on his face when he saw the reading. He's like, sir, I'm sorry to tell you this, but you're suffering a severe heart attack right now. And
yeah, that's what I've been telling you before you got my credit card.
Exactly. Thank you. But in my mind, doctors exaggerate. Like, that's where, and I always tell people the mind is so powerful.
It's their business. Yep.
Yeah, it's right. And people just don't understand how powerful the mind is. I mean, there's proven studies that you can literally, you can actually think yourself sick. So in my mind, I'm leaving that ER clinic in like an hour. And I did, just not the way that I anticipated. So they lay me down. They have me take a bunch of whatever they're having me, you know, chew this, swallow that. Probably say everybody in that clinic was in my room doing something. And this story is funny. This part of the story, I texted my mom while I'm having this heart attack. I texted her. I said, Mom, I'm having a massive heart attack right now. And I put my phone away. And I lost my little brother to a drug overdose. And so I could only imagine what she was going through when she read that, because I'm her only other child. And people are like, why would you do that? And I never, it hit me. I had this epiphany a couple of years back of why I would do that. And it's because I was, in my mind, I felt so strongly. I knew that I was going to be walking out of that clinic. Like, I had no doubts in my mind that I would be out of here in an hour or so. That's where I was. It's like, this is not a roadblock for life. This is a little speed bump. I've had plenty of them, and I'll be out of here soon. So
you're at the hospital. It's Easter. You're having a heart attack. Did they put you into surgery immediately?
No. So I'm laying there. They're doing whatever they're doing, and then I felt myself fading out. Remember, you can't have surgery at an ER urgent care. I'm not at the hospital. I'm at like a care now, but an urgent care version. And so I'm communicating with them. I'm like, the pain's coming back. It's going away. Okay, I feel good. Okay, not so good. And then I felt myself as I felt my breath just lessening, and where I wasn't really able to breathe much. And I just remember saying, y'all got to do something. Please help me. And then I said, God, please help me. And then I was out. And people are like, did you have an out-of-body experience? And I was joking. I could have probably been on Oprah or Ellen and made up a bunch of nonsense and BS, but I didn't. And I actually took that as a sign of my relationship with God. It wasn't strong enough. And so I'm a lot more into my faith than ever before. But I just remember I everything went black. And I remember just hearing Jason. And so I woke up, I turned my head, and I'll speed it up. They're like, welcome back. She just saved your life. Debbie, so that lady that saved my life, that nurse, she doesn't normally work at the clinic. Debbie normally worked at the ER at the hospital, specializing in heart attacks, and she was there that day. So, and no accident. So the paramedics were there. They rushed me to the hospital, and they performed surgery right then. And then I was in ICU for 3 days. And on the third day, I was released from the hospital with no damage to my heart and pump function normal, as if nothing happened.
On the third day, you rose.
On the third day. And the year after that, my birthday was on the Pentecost. It's kind of fascinating, we'll say.
All right, dude. So you're favored by God. What are you supposed to do now?
Help as many people as I can live their best life, whatever that looks like for them.
So talk to me about that. Talk to me about leadership. What's good leadership?
Well, it starts with you. It is being a man or woman of your word, first of all, doing what you say you're going to do, when you say you're going to do it, and practicing what you preach. I'm very big on that. And the biggest shift for me with leadership, and this is for me, is I was always so selfish, and everything was always about Jason. It was always, what am I going to get from this? It was always me going out of my way to do something with the mindset of, because it's going to result in me getting whatever that looks like. And I got to a point where I transitioned away from that, and I just took myself out of the equation, and I really made it a focus of, man, I just want servant leadership and helping as many people as I can. And the Zig Ziglar quote, help as many people get what they want, and you'll eventually get what you want, but doing it from the right place.
What kind of clients are you working with these days?
I currently right now, I like to work with men from the ages of 25 to 50 that are, they have a decent job, but they're unfulfilled. They feel like shit. They lack confidence. They don't want to take their shirt off during the summer. And most of them just need accountability. Because everybody wants to be better. Everybody wants to look better and feel better. And at the end of the day, I'm like, you invest so much time in all of these other things, but you're lacking taking care of yourself. And if you want to be your best self, if you want to grow as much as possible in all areas of your life, like, you got to put you first. And that's not you being selfish. The better you can show up for you, then the better you can be for other people. The better you're feeling about you, the more it's going to show when you're working with other people.
What are some productivity boosts that my audience could put into immediate use to be more effective?
Productivity boosts in regards to what?
To anything, to their business. How do they get more done? How do they get more done?
Yeah. Well, going back to exercise, a lot of people are stressed in today's world. They're getting on social media. They're playing the comparison game. So put your phone down, you get outside and get some exercise. Go get some natural sunlight. Drink that glass of water in the morning. Get your ass to the gym. I mean, just be in motion and stop the comparison game. And you talked about it in the beginning, the gratitude. So many people, they focus on what they don't have and all the problems in their life. And with that mindset, you just continue to attract more problems because that's what you see. And you just got to focus on, like, I woke up today. You know how many people didn't get the opportunity to wake up? Yeah, life might be, I don't want to cuss. Life might, you might think life kind of sucks. Well, guess what? You're the only person that can change it because we're the constant variable in every single situation. So if you want more, do more. But I love Jim Rohn's quote. Dang, what was it? I can't remember. I just drew a blank, but it's okay.
It'll come to you.
Yeah. Success is something you attract by the person you become. There you go.
Without a doubt, it's not enough to learn. We've got to become someone new. So, even that epiphany in the hospital that I was a cocaine addict as a late teen and early 20s. And I remember the day, January 13th, 1985, that I'm playing a mindless game of Scrabble or Yahtzee or some game at 4 in the morning with my girlfriend, and we're doing cocaine. And I look at the mirror and I look at her, and all I could think about was my unborn son. I always wanted a son named Sterling. All I could think about was my unborn son and trying to explain this behavior of his father's to him while I'm telling him, don't do this.
Right.
So there's, a clear part of me that says this is bad.
Yep.
And I stood up, grabbed the mirror, walked to the bathroom, dumped the whole thing down the toilet. My girlfriend screaming, "What are you doing?" Because she was an addict too. And, and she says, "We could have sold that." And I said, "No, we would have sold it to our friends, and I'm not killing them anymore. I don't want to do that."
Right. Well, good for you.
And
Yeah,
so,
Kim, that's awesome.
yeah, well, what happened for me, and I'm sure that the same thing happened for you, she left. A week later, she was gone. She didn't want to be there anymore because she was a drug addict.
Right.
I called all my friends and I said, if you ever sell me drugs again, I'll turn you into the police. I lost every friend and obviously every dealer I ever had. And then ultimately, obviously, it was one of the best decisions of my life. 2 years ago, in the midst of COVID, yours was right on the front of COVID. Mine was in the middle of it. In February of 21, I had open heart surgery.
Oh, wow.
And
was it as a result of that?
Who knows? My father had a bad ticker, so I don't know if it was that, but it was a torn valve. And so I can't figure out what's wrong with me. And I go to the chiropractor and she says, "Sit up right now." I said, "What's wrong?" She said, "You're turning blue." She takes my heart rate. It's at 155 beats per minute. And I said, "Is that good? Is that bad?" She said, "You need to go to the emergency ward right now."
Yeah.
And I said, "Okay." And I went home and I didn't go to the emergency ward. She calls me up half an hour later. She said, "Are you on the way to the hospital?" I said, "I'm not. I'm fine." She said, "No, you need to go now. If I have to drive over and pick you up, you're going now." And I figured, okay, she's a doctor. She must know something. It took them a bit to figure it out, but eventually they realized I had a torn valve and they had to go in and they actually didn't break my ribs. Thanks. They went in through the side and did robotic surgery.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy, but that was, in 21. And now I always joke. I say, I'm better than Tony Stark at this point.
Right.
I'm Silver Man.
Yeah.
And, again, but I do think that when you almost die and you start thinking about what's really important, I at least came to realize that every day, no matter whether you went through a heart attack or not, is a bonus day.
Amen.
And that every day, the whole point is to be happy. I think that's where it starts, is you got to find a way to find joy. But then I think that you touched on it earlier, and I want to talk about it because your book's called The Behavior Code. And I want to talk about, for me, the ultimate surrender to life is realizing we're all here to serve each other. And I don't mean in some airy-fairy, pansy-whamsy kind of way. I mean that's how you become rich, by serving other people, by figuring out what do they need. Not what do I need to get rich. What do they need in their lives? Because that's what's going to make you rich.
Yes, sir.
It's not mining gold. It's selling the shovels to the people that are mining gold. And I think that was the biggest epiphany for me, is that it's not about me. It's about you, and it's about everybody else. It's not about me. And when I make my life not about me, my life's better. So tell me about your book. Tell me what's the book about, and tell me how it helped you.
Well, I have it right here. It's The Code of Behavior: 5 Essentials to Unlocking a Life of Extreme Inspiration, Unlimited Confidence, and Endless Victory. And it really helps people identify how they're living and waking up to the results that it's like. The way that you're living, your code of behavior, is producing the results that you have. And most people are not happy with where they are, or it's like, okay, they're content, but they want more and they can't figure out how to get that. But it's very simple. I mean, assess, believe, create. And I talk about that in the book. Success is as simple as ABC: assess, believe, create. And then, of course, after you create your code and what you're going to do, what that looks like, you reverse engineer. This is where I want to be. Okay, this is what it's going to take on a day-to-day basis to get there. Now you put it into action, and you touched on that earlier. I tell people knowledge is not power, because you can be the smartest person in the room and be broke. You have to apply what you know and get after it. And something I love too, and Ed Milet talks about this, so I have to credit him, and I dealt with this myself, is that the thought of doing certain things and getting to a certain place releases endorphins. And oftentimes it's just enough for us not to go do it, not to put it into action, because we got those endorphins and that feeling of as if we hit those goals, but we haven't even started getting to those goals, So it's a lot of people deal with that.
Yeah, Ed's a great friend of mine, and what I love about what he does, he's raw, he's real, he's a
Yes,
product
he
of a
is.
product. He was obviously involved in the insurance industry and multi-level, still is.
Yes, sir.
And one of the things that I love about Ed is that he has a way of making everybody feel amazing. His entire life is an example of service to other people. More than that, though, he's not afraid to tell it like it is, and I think that that's the challenge we've gotten to, is that so many influencers, so many authors, so many people, all they're concerned with is one more book sold, one more like, one more follower, one more that they need other people's approval so much that they don't really say anything of substance in any given moment because they're afraid they're going to lose a follower, lose a vote, lose a like, lose a comment, lose a share. And again, my thought is I've never lost a fan that was actually a fan. Yesterday we had a guest on the show that I adored. I loved the show, thought the guest was great. He dropped a bunch of F bombs. And I was talking about it at the top of the show. I didn't stop it. I'm not a prude. I drop F bombs. I don't usually drop them in regular conversation only because, I don't want to turn anybody off that would hear the message otherwise, but I'm not afraid to drop the F bomb if it's the most intelligent word in the moment.
Right.
I had two people send me emails. One of them sent an email. This guy was awesome. Let's get him back on the show. He was great, which I agree with. And then the other guest I love very much. The other email I got, though, was from a more conservative man. He is leveled up, so he's a little more mature than me. So he's seen things and more refined. I know for a fact he's a devout Mormon, so I know he loves God deeply and doesn't care for profanity. And his message to me in the email was, that was unnecessary. I agree, except it was what it is. There's a lot of unnecessary stuff in the world.
Yes,
And
there
he
is.
said, it was offensive. And if that we're gonna have those kinds of guests, I don't want to watch the show. I get it all. But I also know, guaranteed, that you can't control the world. And people drop F bombs. They just do. That's what the real world does. And I, for myself, would rather help people to realize if is their code of behavior helping them get more in their lives or not, because that's a
Amen.
fact. It either is or it isn't.
Correct.
And so if you're not happy in your life, you're not happy because of something you're doing, echoing into the world, producing a result less than what you want.
Right.
So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about how people show up in the world and what are some things that people don't even realize they're showing up in their behavior. Because if you don't, and correct me if I'm wrong on your philosophy, from what I understand, if you don't choose a code, the code chooses you anyway.
Absolutely. And while you were just saying what you were saying, it took me back to when you asked me what people could do right now. And I wanted to touch again on that. And it's perfect because what I was going to say deals right into this. And so investing in yourself is the number one investment that you will ever make. Who you're hanging around, that is so crucial because we are a product of our environment. You always hear the show me your friends, I'll show you your future. Your income, the way you live your life is pretty much aligned with the 5 people that you're closest with or that you hang around the most. But also, what are you putting into your mind? You can have your car be a nightclub or your car can be a university. And I heard the stat, I don't know, I forget exactly what it was, but the amount of the amount of hours that people drive in a year it's unreal, the amount of time that people are in their cars. And if that was 90% audiobooks and podcasts to level up, to become a better person, listening to people who who they have what you want in life, or they're in the career that you are in and they're at the level that you want to get at in your career, like just the compounding knowledge that you'll get, day after day, week after week, month and year. I mean, it can transform you. And those were huge shifts for me. I started getting around people that were not just successful, but that truly wanted to help me become successful. They wanted me to be successful looking back, more than I even wanted to be successful. And it's because they were at that level and they understand it's not that hard to get there, but most people just don't do the work on a day-to-day basis, which compounds to get you the results. It's like the house is built brick by brick, and then you have this, you could have, well, it could be a beautiful home, but guess what? It's built the same way as the smaller house. It just might take a little bit longer. And yeah, I mean, what we put into our minds, it's trash in, trash out. If I'm listening to aggressive music and I'm driving and somebody cuts me off, I might get an attitude with that person. If I'm listening to Jim Rohn or John or Ed Milet or Les Brown, or it sounds like you, because you're pretty incredible yourself. If you're putting that kind of stuff, things into your mind, content into your mind, your reaction will probably, man, that person's in a hurry. Like, they really got to get somewhere, where they got to take a shit really bad. Like, they're
going to have a baby.
They're about to have a kid. That's right. There's got to get to, or person's having a heart attack and they got to get to the damn hospital. And so you just start to look at things a lot different with new information. And they say that what you don't know won't hurt you, and that could not be more far from the truth. What you don't know will hurt you, because it's what you don't know. When you learn it, you can start to level up, because you're only going to get as far as the knowledge that you have, of course, with the action backed by it. But
yeah, I think some people are stuck on the idea that ignorance is bliss.
Right.
And like an ostrich with their head in the sand, they just think, if I don't put attention on something, then I don't have to deal with it. And unfortunately, that's what's happening now. People, sometimes give me grief because I'm a hypnotist. And, I would never let anybody hypnotize me. And my response is, you're already hypnotized. Your whole demeanor, your thought of what I am and what I stand for and what hypnosis is hypnosis.
Right.
So you're either going to buy into hypnosis that serves you or hypnosis that doesn't. It doesn't matter, though, because at the end of the day, you don't have to believe in a Mack truck for it to mow you down on the freeway. It's going to kill you if you stand in front of it. You don't have to believe in gravity to not die if you step off a tall building. The building doesn't care whether you think you can fly or not. And I think that again, people misinterpret that. And instead of asking themselves a more powerful question, not, I'm going to believe this, what's in my best interest to believe? And that's a better question and a better frame on that whole concept, because now it's not bliss. I can say the world's a horrible place. The majority of all politicians are massively corrupt. The government, is just here to get as much money from you as you can as a worker bee. And while all of those may be true, it doesn't do me any good to live my life in that kind of fear or angst or anxiety.
I had to let go of one of my best friends because of this.
Continue.
We knew each other for 3 weeks apart.
Say that name again.
What name?
Your best friend.
I never said it, but his name is Adam. I'll leave it at that.
So say his name.
Adam.
Adam, go ahead.
Yeah. We're 3 weeks apart. Our mothers were very close, and I would say 5 or 6 years back, I just had to cut him off. I had to cut him out of my life. I tell people, you love people from a distance. If they continue to be negative and they're not serving a purpose in your life, they're not helping you grow, they're taking away, you got to cut them loose if you want more for your life. And he would not stop with all the conspiracies. I mean, quite frankly, a lot of what he said, yeah, I agree. And you're on point and you're not wrong. However, that is all he would ever talk about. I would bring him around other friends, and my friends later on be like, dude, what is up with this guy? And it just got to a point where, like, man, I don't know. And I would have hope that it would stop, but it was every single time we would talk. And I'm just like, man, you are taking away from my life. It's too much.
Well, and there is a point where you've got to ask somebody, when the election happened, when 2020 happened, and things turned out the way that they did. Again, I am strongly in a position where evidence is evidence of something.
Amen. I'm right there with you. Yeah.
But the challenge is that, again, I've spent a lot of time with Trump. I happen to like the way my life was going during his administration.
Same.
And I saw videos that made me say, that's criminal. That's not real. It doesn't matter. And I found myself emotionally frightened for my children. But I also, after a period of time, went, dude, you can't live that way.
Can't.
And that's the challenge for like your friend, is that they found themselves in a loop, and Bono's YouTube song, that I love that line because it's such a perfect description. I'm stuck in a moment. You're stuck in a moment and you can't get over it.
Right. He
And,
needs some hypnotizing from you, man.
Well, that's what that is, because it is
to
hypnosis.
reprogram.
And without a doubt, the fear is, if I get over this, if I let go of this thing right now, it's never going to get better.
Right.
And the truth is, there are some things, the only way to be empowered is to surrender. And surrender doesn't mean I admit defeat. It means I accept how things are and I'll deal with it.
That's right.
So let's talk about surrender a
1000%.
bit, because obviously you surrendered your drug addictions.
I did.
You surrendered your life. And again, whether somebody believes in God or not, ultimately, that is what God is. It's that surrender. It's that peace that says, I'm protected. I'm going to live. I'm going to die. And the quality is going to be largely up to me.
Amen.
So talk to me about what surrender's meant in your life.
Well, I actually had 2 more slip-ups after the massive heart attack, which is
not unusual. But
right.
here's before you speak, let me say this.
Of course.
I had the same experience. I had a buddy of mine. I loved him so much. Love this guy. He was a major cocaine fiend. And I quit doing cocaine, and I told him I don't do cocaine anymore. A few years go by, we're having sushi, we're drinking sake, we're getting a little bit lit.
Yeah.
He said, hey, let's go back to my house. And we go back to his house, and sure enough, he pulls some coke out. We spend the whole night doing cocaine. I in the morning, after I go home and I get maybe half an hour of sleep, I went, what the hell did I just do? And I called up my buddy and I said, hey, I have no judgment how you live your life. I just don't want that life anymore. And, I've made it clear with all my friends, if you do that around me, we can't be friends. Fair enough. And I said, if that ever happens again, if you offer it to me again, I'll be your friend. 3-4 years go by, same scenario. We're out having fun. And he offered it to me again. And I said, I love you so much. I just don't want to be your friend anymore.
Good for you, man.
Well, and
it's powerful to be able to do that, though. It's because it's not easy.
No, and it's not, because it wasn't just for me. It was also for him. I thought I was an important friend. And I said, I don't want to be your friend when you're bringing this guy to the table. And
then you see what he values more.
Well, it wasn't even, in my opinion, what he valued more. He couldn't find his way out of hell.
Yeah.
He just couldn't find his way out of hell. And again, for me, I had to end every friendship I had at the time. I had to lose my girlfriend that I loved very much.
Yeah.
All because I said the healthy me wouldn't be here. And the only thing we have in common is this addiction. But at any rate, my buddy, I don't talk to him for maybe 5, 6, 7 years after that. And one day I'm walking down the beach and I see this guy, homeless guy. And I lean down to drop some money in his tin, and I'll be damned, it's him.
Homeless.
Yeah, and I just said, dude.
How was his life before homeless? And when you knew him, I mean, was he had a decent job?
He was a hypnotist. He knew he had all the tools. He was massively successful. He was really good. But for whatever reason, and this is the piece, he thought that's who he was. And I tell people every
day. It was identity. He had identity with that, yeah.
Yeah, then it's predestined already. And I tell people all the time, no, you choose who you are on the day you were born. Were you a pauper struggling to make money? Were you a drug addict trying to get off addiction? Or were you a king's kid? Were you a multimillionaire whose money had not yet been deposited in your bank account? Is every day you're living your life unfolding the life that you're supposed to live? And I know you believe that. I believe that.
Yeah, you got me about to jump out of my chair. Yeah, I mean, you got me pumped up over here.
Again, that's the epiphany we had, isn't it?
Right, it is.
One day we said, that's not me. This is me.
Right. And yeah, then you start to truly be able to step into your greatness. And the last time, it was just going to be a little bit, as you know, and it's never how it goes. I didn't sleep that night. And I actually felt myself fading away, and I didn't want to let myself go, start to close my eyes, because things can happen in that, in that scenario. People die doing that. So I got up and I was by the beach, and I walked out into the water, and this was the day where I truly meant it. You know how we always say, "Oh, this is gonna be the last time I'm never gonna touch this again."
Save me, God! Last time I'll ever do this.
Exactly. Well, this day I truly meant it. I was like, God, I don't know what's happening right now. But if you make this go away, I swear I will never touch it again. And everything cleared up within a couple of minutes. And I haven't touched it since that day. June this year will be 3 years.
God bless you, brother.
Not to say that I don't have my struggles here and there, but I will never go back, ever. It'll never happen.
Yesterday was 300 days of no alcohol for me.
Damn, that's awesome.
And for me, it wasn't. I was extremely functional. You know, I wouldn't have called myself an alcoholic, and don't even know if I would today.
Right.
But I certainly believe other people would have looked at how much I consumed and probably had that opinion. I had such a strong work ethic that it never got in the way. I wouldn't drink if I had work to do. I wouldn't drink if I didn't think I could get my mind clear. If I thought I would have a hangover, I wouldn't drink. And so for me though, it was just one day I said, I'm done.
For
I've
what?
done enough. What are you going to drink till the day you die? There's got to be an ending day. And it was July 12th of last year. So it was 300 days yesterday, 301 days today. But again, to me, you know, people ask me, like I'm sure they've asked you, was it hard to stop? And it wasn't. Do I every once in a while look at a, you know, single malt or some, you know, nice looking piece of liquor and go, God, that looks good. I do. And I say, and the price is too high.
Right.
The cost is way too much. I'm not interested. Done.
When I agreed, I was talking about cocaine, but it is true about alcohol, but I don't really drink a lot, maybe a couple times a month. And I'll have like one or two, which then at that point, it's like, well, why even have one? But
it doesn't matter. What matters, and this is the point I was making, is that your life is either working or it isn't.
Right.
If your life works on a bottle of wine or a couple of margaritas, God bless you. If your life works, if you do any kind of recreational drugs and it's not killing you, God bless you. I would never tell anybody how to live their lives. All I know is that a fish doesn't know it's in water. And people don't know how easy it can be to make money until I show them how easy it is to make money. People don't know, you know, that their code, like you describe in your book, their code is their life. It's not just their behaviors. To yourself, you are what you think, but to the outside world, you are what you do.
Right.
And whatever you do on a consistent basis, if somebody describes you, they're going to say they're that kind of person. They're healthy, they're buff, they're a gym rat, they're a brilliant speaker, trainer, author.
Hey.
But it's all based on what you do. So as we get ready to wrap up the interview, great having you on. I love your story. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. It's been a pleasure. When I got asked to be on, I was like, am I about to get hypnotized on a Zoom kind of call?
No, not unless your credit card clears first.
There you go, right? sound like the urgent care.
Exactly. No, I don't care if you're dying. You got to give me a credit card first.
Yeah.
So any last, how do people get a hold of you? How would they find out more about what you do and get a hold of your book? And
so jasonlnemes.com. There's the spelling. You can see it on there. And then at Tatted Prez, TATT. There you go. That's it. On all social media platforms.
Your books are flying off the shelf. They're so
I know.
popular.
Yeah, right. But yeah, that's how you get a hold of me. I love speaking at events for schools, for corporate gigs, working with people, anybody who's looking to better themselves. They're sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. They want to be comfortable taking their shirt off and feel good in their own skin, get that confidence back, and just really be the best version of you. I'm your guy. That's just what I do, and I love it. I love helping people. I love seeing people become their best.
Well, you are awesome. You're a great guest. I appreciate having you here, and I look forward to meeting you sometime soon in person. You have an open invitation anytime you'd like to come join me at a turning point. Please come be my guest. We got one coming up in July. I'd love to see you there.
Marshall, man, thank you so much again. I'll be in touch for sure. I'm going to hold you to that.
Take care, brother.
All right,
bye
you too. Now. All right, bye.
I'm just thrilled, and maybe it's all about me. I don't know. I get so much out of our guests on this show. I'm having so much fun. And I really appreciate you, my audience, my spectators, my viewers, my listeners. Before we wrap up, let's see. Let me take a quick look in the chat. Daniel Hernandez asks, what do you think is the difference between guys who finally make the decision not to take part in something and those that can't seem to find the willpower? That is a phenomenal question. I know for me, Daniel, and anybody else wondering that question, for me, it really was when it stopped being about me. When I realized that my actions, because I'm a father and a husband, and frankly, a teacher and a mentor, and the gravy train, the employer, the person that pays other people's paychecks. When I realized that ultimately it's so much not about me, that I need to perform better. If I really care about people and I really love my wife, if I really love my kids, if I really love my team, which I do, all the above, then it's up to me to perform at the best levels I can. And so I think that people that don't go down that path, I think they believe it will make a difference. And my own father died at 62 years old, which interestingly, 68 years old, forgive me. Interestingly enough, I know positive, guaranteed for the last years of his life, maybe the last 15 to 20 years of his life, he chain smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day. He drank a fifth, or is it a quart, the big bottle, half gallon of vodka every single day. He went through a case of Pabst Blue Ribbon beer every day. By lunchtime or mid-afternoon, he was incoherent every day and kept drinking into the night until he passed out. And I believe that my dad just said, "Why bother? I'm gonna die anyway. I might as well enjoy this cigarette or this shot of vodka or these beers until I die." And that's all well and good if you die instantly. The challenge is it doesn't usually happen. You usually don't die instantly. He had repeated bypass surgeries, double, triple, quadruple bypass surgeries through the course of his life. Ultimately, at 68, died of a heart attack. And I think it was not just the alcohol and the smoking that killed him. I really think it was outlook. I think it was depression that killed him. And so every single day you got a choice, and your choice is to be happy. Your choice is to find joy. Your choice is to understand that, yeah, that thing, whether it's a drug or alcohol or gambling or porn, or maybe you're addicted to a bad relationship, that thing may give you temporary peace, except if it's cutting in to your impact, your effectiveness, and joy in any other area, it's too much. It's too much. When I eat a nice dessert, lots of sugar inside of it, I get an emotional lift. I get a buzz. I get a high off of that. I don't think that my dream squares or those chocolate chip cookies are going to be the end of me. And I also believe that a life without joy and pleasure and dance and song and chocolate chip cookies is a life not worth living. I really do. But I also know that sometimes we don't know what kind of joy we can have and satisfaction we can experience in just feeling good about ourselves, about our contributions, about our inspiration. So my prayer, this is a little longer extra than you normally hear. My prayer on the show today is that you'd be inspired to maybe today take a look at an area of your life and say, you know what, it served me then. It just doesn't serve me anymore. And there's no judgment for me. I could care less how you live your life. I just want you to be happy and add to other people's value. Except my belief is that there's some things you're working on. It's why you tune in every single day. We got a turning point coming up in July in Las Vegas. Sterling, if you have that video standing by for Turning Point, maybe we can play that to wrap up today's show and let people see what we got going on. If you'd like to experience a turning point in your life, if you'd like to experience what it would feel like to come be with me in person, I'd like to give the first 5 people who contact my office, and you can email my office at support@certaintyinc.com. First 5 people who contact my office, support@certaintyinc.com, will get 2 $3,000 tickets to Turning Point for the July event on me. My compliments, totally free. To give you an idea of what the event is all about, take a look at this video.
Turning Point. A total change in direction for the better.
Who here is ready for a turning point? You absolutely have to have one. Put them high.
The 2-day Turning Point seminar is different than any other program in that it does more than just teach you the skills for your relationships, wealth, and power. It also programs you on a subconscious level to put those skills into immediate use.
This weekend is about empowerment. This weekend is about you understanding how to take charge of your own life.
You will learn total control of your thoughts and emotions. How to use PND, or psychoneural duplication, to take on the thoughts and actions of others to produce similar results. Whether it's losing weight, changing habits, being a millionaire.
When you think what a millionaire thinks and you do what a millionaire does, you'll produce similar results.
You will learn to program these powerful tools at a subconscious level for immediate and lasting results.
Your conscious mind is what's called your critical factor. It's the mind you're using right now to determine whether the information I'm giving to you will work for you or not. Your subconscious mind, on the other hand, is merely a computer. It's non-critical. It doesn't even have the ability to make judgment. So all trance, hypnosis, reprogramming is setting aside the critical factor of your conscious mind and non-critically accepting suggestions.
And empowering.
To make a fear vanish, you must experience it fully.
As it helps you create your life exactly the way you want it. Bring your family closer. Find the love of your life. Create strategies for wealth. Learn irresistible influence and so much more. Because of the intimate nature of this course, seats are very limited. Register now before your life passes you by and there are no more turning points for you. Tens of thousands of people have learned this information and are using it daily.
You don't get angry if you get fired from your job and you know that within 2 years you will be a multi-millionaire.
It's your time.
There's a way for you to win this game that is different than how you're doing it, and it works.
It's your life.
When you learn how to do that, you become more powerful, and power is for use.
It's your turning point.
Awesome. First 5 people who reach out to my office right now, support at certaintyinc.com, will receive 2 tickets, $6,000 worth of value to come join me in July. I look forward to seeing you there. I also look forward to seeing you on tomorrow's show. I'm Marshall Silver, your personal millionaire maker, telling you you are totally loved. See you tomorrow. Hey there, moguls. It's me, Marshall Silver, your personal millionaire maker. Getting very excited about my brand new show coming up 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. I'm going to broadcast live to you. I'm going to give you content, information, emotional, mental, physical, and even spiritual power. I'll also invite some of my cool multi-millionaire and billionaire friends onto the show to give you more direction, more advice for having it all. All the knowledge to get everything you want and so much more. All you got to do is log in to the show to get information coming to you live from the bunker right here at Studio Money. So stay tuned.